Hello everybody, my name is General Guyble and welcome to this walkthrough video from my new sample pack Rawstyle vs Psytrance, out now on TD Audio. Before we get started, I would like to ask you to subscribe to my channel and activate the notifications button so you get notified when something new is up. And I would also like to ask you to go to my Facebook page and do the same there as well. It's /General Guyble, click on like and also activate to see my posts first. So let's get back to the video. My new sample pack Rawstyle vs Psytrance is out now. Let's just see what's inside the pack, and afterwards, we're gonna also see how you can use that pack to make your own stuff and get creative with that. So actually to a hands-on thing. So if you open that pack, first of all you got the full demo, you got a WAV and an MP3 file. And then you go to the kits. There are 8 kits, all kits are on 155 BPM, and the keys vary from E to G sharp. So in Rawstyle we are usually around F. Lately I see more production going to G sharp with extreme raw and all that type of stuff. So we are in the typical range of regular Rawstyle keys. So let's go straight to the first kit. In every kit it looks the same. You got 4 folders, which first is the full mix, you got the loops, you got the one-shots, and you got the stamps. First let's go to the full mix. In each kit you got a WAV and MP3 file of the mastered version and the mix. Here you see them loaded up in the session, and yeah, you can see the difference. So now you're asking, why would I bring in both? First of all, of course, I need the mastered version as a demo for you to hear that this pack, how it can sound after a proper mastering. Most of you might know, mostly I do my living from doing mastering work, so I obviously got a lot to do with mastering and mastering clients. And like one of those typical things people are asking me is like, yeah, but I compare my mixes against masters, and do you have can you send me a mix from other people or your mixes so I can compare it and see if my mix is good enough? Because if I compare it to a master, it sounds way too bad because the master is already a done track. First of all, I always think you should compare always to a master and try to beat the master with your mix, obviously with the volume corrected so you got pretty much the same loudness, because a good master is just loud. It shouldn't do too much on the track, maybe a little bit highs and lows and whatever. For exactly that purpose I threw in the mixed version before the mastering or any bus compression or any bus processing. So you got the opportunity when you make a new track, regardless with or without the samples from that pack, you can always compare your track, your mix towards this mixes. Moving on, we go to the stamps. In each kit you got a good collection of stamps. I tried to separate them as much as necessary, but also try to keep them together as much as possible. So for instance, like you got different claps on one stem, you got different snares on one stem, different percussions, hi-hats, whatever. Therefore you got the loops and the one-shots if you really want to go in the detail. If you import the stamps, you got pretty much the same mix as you heard in the demo, even though I prefer to work with normalized files. Obviously here we got to keep the levels the same, and I tried to go as hard as I can but still leave not really overload the master. So let's just play like one of the busiest parts and see on the master what's going on. So as you can see, the peak level doesn't go above 0. That's also the reason why the stamps are not as hard as you're used to. But I really care a lot about proper gain structure. Then you got the loops. The loops are just short versions of what you hear in the stamps, just as short as they can be. So like for instance, you got a regular Psytrance kick, which is exactly 1 bar. You got like the bass, exactly same thing. This is actually the filtered one, but you got also here the regular bass. This loops give you really an opportunity to be very fast, very quick, and get something done in a very short amount of time. As you can see here, I just throw in the kick, copy it through a couple of times, I throw in the bass, already got that groove going, some hi-hats, and then you can even go in with the screech, which was in the Rawstyle part, but you can get creative with that as well. Next step, I pulled up a compressor, adjust the sidechain, track 20, here we go, that's our loop, that's the kick, and just, you know, add some sidechaining to the screech. And that way essentially you created like already a new loop. One thing that's left are one shots. Obviously I just mentioned the key of everything which is related to that kit, so it's, you see everywhere F sharp, but obviously an open hi-hat doesn't have a key. I also tried separated them as much as I could, but obviously, you know, if I made a kick out of 5 layers, it's just one kick sample. I mean, nobody needs those 5 layers because you can't reproduce the processing I did anyway. Let's listen through all the samples you find in that kit. Also, let's check out the loops. Let's also check the second kit. You can listen the full mixes on the Loopmasters page. listening to the loops and the one-shots, sometimes it's hard to make sense out of it. That's why the stems are so important. Just load them in, analyze them, and as you can see here, there you get a good understanding how this track is coming about, what goes into it, you know, what's happening in the background, what's the purpose of certain sounds, what happens if you take them out, what happens if you bring some other sounds in. So this is a good educational thing to do and just, you know, analyze what I've done there. Overall, it's a very powerful pack. You will also find a video of me making a full track just with those loops and one shots and whatever. This might be also very interesting to see the full potential of this pack. Overall, I highly advise you to check out the full demos of each kit and yeah, see if that's something for you. And see you next time. Bye bye.